Hello, Titan Nation. What's up? We have a special guest today. As you can see, she's right there on the screen. We have Amie Wells. Amie Wells, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. If no one knows who Amie Wells is and you like the Titans, then you really don't like them at all. But how's everything today? I like your back porch. It looks really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a little bit of a breeze here in Nashville, so that's keeping things cool, but I'm trying to stay out of the house and be outside as much as I can just
Definitely.
to get some fresh air and a little change of scenery. But yeah, so the back porch is kind of my location for the next while, I hope.
That's nice. That's good. That's good. And again, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate it. I know you're extremely busy, especially doing the line that you do, all the work you have to put into it. It's a lot. I remember when Jim was talking to me, and you guys do a lot. A lot of people don't see, like, I guess from the outside. But
We do, but we have a lot of fun, man. Like, at the end of the day, it's a bunch of people all hanging out who really love sports and really love the team that we get to be a part of. And so a lot of the stuff that you see us doing and putting together with myself and Jim Wyatt and Mike Keith and Coach Mack, it's pretty much exactly what we look like when we're just kind of killing time around the office.
mhm.
So that makes it a lot easier that it's pretty much just a bunch of people sitting around talking about the Titans all day long. And we have an absolute blast. But I mean, we're not doing anything that's different than what you're doing with your friends. And I'm sure a lot of Titans fans are. It's just kind of sitting around geeking out about this team.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I would love to get paid to do that too. I mean, I do this as just you know, just for fun. Again, I love the team, and I love everything about them. So, again, if no one knows who Amie is, I mean, she's part of the news coverage team, providing daily reports. Titans Online. She hosts, I think it was Titans Weekly Show, Titans All Access, and as well as the Titans podcast, which is called the OTP with Mike Heath. You got Jim Wyatt, who was on the show, and that's always fun to listen to. I always listen to that, so it's a good show. So just in
Yeah.
case no one knew who you were, but
Always plug the OTP, man. That thing is my baby.
that
Whatever we can do to get people listening to it, I am here for.
is
Always give a shout out to the OTP.
awesome. Yeah, it's a really good podcast. I listen to it on my way to work. I just again it's been crazy out there. It's been really, really crazy. It's gonna be a crazy season if there is one. Hopefully there is. But again, just want to talk about your career and how you ended up with the Titans, because I was doing some research about you. I didn't know. I knew one team that you went to, but I didn't know the other one. And I don't know if you ever mentioned it. And there might be a reason why you never mentioned it. And I was like, what? Okay, so you started. When did you enter the NFL? 2011.
My first year was 2011 in
Uh-huh.
Baltimore with the Ravens.
Yes, I know. Yep.
Is that the one you knew?
No, it's the next
Oh, okay. Okay. So then 2012, I was in Indianapolis with the Colts.
one. Yeah, that's
And
it.
then 2013 was my first year with the Titans.
Gotcha.
So I kind of traveled around a little bit. And I know that it's like the two worst teams that I could have worked for. And I know. But I also, A, didn't do it on purpose.
Of course.
B, had no idea I was going to end up in Nashville. And C, was able to get a lot of really good experience at both of those organizations. So I'll never say a bad thing about them unless we're playing them.
Yeah.
In which case, I hope they lose, and I hope they lose in an embarrassing fashion.
There we go. I like that. It's nice.
Yeah, but I really did. I mean, both organizations, I worked for some really great people, including the Colts PR staff who just won the Pete Rozelle Award. And that's a really big deal if you're a PR nerd. That's kind of a huge deal. So congrats to them. But yeah, I started out in public relations in 2011, right out of college. It was actually during the NFL lockout.
Okay.
And so they knew they had an internship to fill. And much like a lot of kids who are graduating from college right now and like the world's kind of shut down,
Mm-hmm.
the NFL world was actually shut down in 2011 because they were negotiating the old CBA. And so it was this weird kind of, the Ravens knew they were going to have an internship available. Were kind of having a hard time figuring out how they were going to fill it. I kind of stumbled into a conversation with Patrick Gleason, who's one of their PR people there. And they ended up basically saying, hey, we don't know if we can give you a job or when we can give you a job as an intern, but if you could just move out to Baltimore and wait, that would be great. So I was in Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me that on a Tuesday. And by Thursday, I had all my stuff packed up and I was just moving to Baltimore, where I waited for about 6 weeks for the lockout to end. And then we just kind of jumped right into the 2011 season. It was a lot of fun. I learned a bunch about NFL PR and how to work with players and how to work with coaches and kind of what the rhythm of a season is like. And I was fortunate they went to the AFC Championship game that year, so I got a lot of playoff experience as well and kind of what the pace of that is like.
Okay.
And then my internship kind of ended, and I went back to Missouri for the summer and kind of waited to see what to do next. And a bunch of people that I knew were moving to the Colts because Chuck Pagano got the head coaching job with Indianapolis that year.
Okay.
And so I was able to turn that into another internship with the Colts. So moved to Indianapolis, I was able to kind of grow on the things that I had learned the year prior. So I was able to work closer with different executives in the organization and kind of learn how to do that and how to interact with those people and understand more of the business side of what organizations need. And I was very fortunate to be with them. I mean, that was a crazy season for the Colts. It was Andrew Luck's rookie year,
Oh.
so that was crazy. Coach Pagano ended up finding out that he had leukemia that year, and so he was gone for half the season. Got to work with Bruce Arians a lot.
Okay.
It was a wild and crazy year, but kind of a similar situation where after that was over, a friend told me about the job that the Titans had available, and I kind of thought it was a PR job.
Mm-hmm.
And interviewed with Mike Keith,
Cool.
and Mike was like, yeah, we should hire this girl. She hasn't done broadcasting really, but she'll probably figure it out. And he's kind of been riding with me ever since.
There you go. The rest is history. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's kind of a crazy leap too, to kind of just pack up your bags and just go to, especially Baltimore. Baltimore's I'm from Jersey. Baltimore's rough,
Mm-hmm.
especially from Missouri. But people are different from over there. I mean, it's like it's a culture shock because again, when I lived in Jersey. I was born in Jersey. I moved to Miami. I lived in Miami for like 18 years, and then when I moved to Texas, it was like complete. Like people are so nice. Like I found it so weird. People like stop and say hi and stuff. I was like, why you? It's weird. So
Yeah.
I could see.
Yeah, moving. Yeah, not only to the East Coast, but Baltimore, which is like extra East Coast. It was definitely a shock. I had some friends who lived kind of in that area, so that helped. And I mean, I made some of my closest friends in Baltimore, but yeah, it was not what I was used to. But I was just so excited to just have a job. Like that felt like something that may or may not ever actually happen. So to be able to have a job and be on this big adventure working for the National Football League just seemed so surreal to me that anything that was challenging, I like didn't even feel it. I mean, I was just so high on the experience that I was having.
Mm-hmm.
I had no clue what anything was. It was just, I need to do this job. I really want to do it well. I want to do it right. please, for the love of God, don't fire me. I'm trying really hard. And like, that was pretty much what I was doing all year. So I didn't even feel the fact that I was in a new place and really far from my home and all of that, because I was so focused on this one thing that I was doing.
Well, were you worried at all you said, I mean, you were doing public relations, and then Mike Keith says, hey, she's never done anything with broadcasting before. Let's kind of try to plug her in. Were you at first nervous? Did you like expect that since you were going for public relations? How did you?
Well, so when I interviewed for the job with the Titans, I was told that they were looking for someone who had some PR experience and had some on-camera experience to take the load off of Mike Keith every now and then. Because Mike Keith, I don't know if people know this, he does like 500 appearances a year. The man is everywhere. And he's also, Mike Keith, voice of the Titans. So he has his actual job that he does. And then he does all of these appearances and he does all these talks and he's always out in the community doing things. And Mike Keith needs to be like 15 places at once. So they kind of brought me in to lighten the load if I had to. And so I kind of thought, that'll be once or twice a year when he's double booked, because I didn't know. I mean, I had no idea. So I had been in college. I had worked for the NBC station in Columbia, Missouri. I went to Mizzou.
Yep.
And when I worked at the NBC station there, had done a very small amount of on-camera stuff, had mostly done kind of behind the camera producing, that kind of thing. But so I had like 3 things on a resume tape that I could send in. And so I did. I don't even know if they watched it, honestly. Someone found it in their desk recently and was like, should we watch this? I was like, absolutely not. Throw it away.
Definitely, let's watch it.
Yeah, no, I think we destroyed it. But I sent it in, don't know if anybody watched it, but during this interview, it felt like we were talking about PR things. So then Mike Keith comes in and he wants to do a screen test. And so he starts asking me about Colts things, and I could answer Colts questions. I just worked for them for a year. And I mean, I guess it worked. We've never really talked about it, but he says this is true. He says that he hired me because they took me out to lunch. And we went to Payway. Okay. Only the finest. And Mike Keith was blown away by the amount of just the sheer volume of Chinese food that I inhaled in a professional job interview setting. What he didn't know is that Asian food is my favorite genre of all the foods. Okay. And B, I'm a nervous eater. So
you were just taking it on.
It was kind of just like a perfect storm for me. But Mike says all the time that he was so impressed by just how much I didn't care that there were people around me and I was just shoving fried rice into my face. That's why he hired me. And strangely, I believe him. But really, it wasn't until probably 2 or 3 days after I'd been hired and we were out on Titan's Caravan that he was like, well, yeah, you should go interview those people over there. And yeah, let's introduce you to fans. And you should probably create a Twitter handle. And I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And that's kind of when the whole Titans Amie thing was born. And it's been a wild ride ever since. And Mike Keith, to his credit, I try not to say nice things about him a lot, but he has been so patient and he has been such a good teacher that he's never put me in a situation where I'm going to publicly fail. And he has been very gracious about sitting down with me and talking to me and teaching me and running me through scenarios and making sure that I have the skills that I need. And I am very grateful to him for that, because there's no way that I could have done this job with any other person in the world. So to be where we are now, and I'm starting season 8 with the Titans, and to have so many things like the podcasts and the radio shows and the TV shows and everything that's kind of running at once. And it feels like we're just getting started in terms of the things that we can do for this Titans team, because the football is really good right now too. So it's just such a cool time to be part of this organization. And I'm so thankful that he put in the effort on the front end so that we could start running with things as this team continues to grow. So it's been really fun. But yeah, I was more confused than I was scared. Like, why do you want me to do this? But I did it.
There you go. Shout out to Mike Heath for.
Shout out to Mike Heath.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So
you can never know that I said that many nice things all in a row. So.
I doubt that he'll watch it, so you're good.
Just say thanks. Don't tell him.
Gotcha. So coming off a crazy season last year. I mean, it was awesome, right? We had the playoff run. Again, everyone doubts us, like always. How was that playoff experience? Because again, like you said, you already had that playoff experience with another team. What was the difference between the Titans, and how did you feel about it?
Oh, the Titans one was so much sweeter. It was the best playoff run I've ever been a part of. And it was so good because things were almost really bad. At the beginning of the season,
it's rough,
and everybody knows this, we were in Denver going, what in the world is happening? I mean, it felt like the ground was opening up and we were all about to fall through it. There were so many things that just weren't clicking, weren't gelling, and it was the product of a lot of different things. Listen, a lot of people put that on Marcus. It wasn't all Marcus.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things that just weren't clicking together correctly, and a change needed to be made. And I mean, hindsight's 2020, but that turned out to be a great move. And but we were really kind of looking at each other after that game going, oh, this could get real bad. We might, because in broadcasting, as well as a lot of journalists, you kind of have to map things out, and you kind of have to try to anticipate some things and the way that seasons are going to go. And once you start to get a feel and a jive for what's going to happen, you try to plan a couple steps ahead. So, okay, if we drop a few more games, this is going to have to be the way we talk about this. And this is going to we're going to have to start focusing on some of these things. And we need to look and make sure that we highlight this thing over here, or we're going to need to find some explanations and some answers for what's going on, because this team was expected to do something different. We kind of start talking about what that's going to look like and how our coverage might shift, because frankly, working for the team, a lot of your life is dependent on how the football is going. A lot of the people that you interact with are very tied into this game and wins and losses. And so if you're winning, it's a lot easier to talk to people and do interviews with people because they want to talk about what's going on.
Definitely.
If you're losing, it's a lot harder because people don't want to talk about it, which I get. Like, I understand, but you still have to talk and I still have to ask you. So here we are. But so you start looking at some of that. So then the team starts to turn things around, and we're growing and we're putting some wins together. And then we get the win against Kansas City, which will forever be one of my highlights just of my life. It was so good. So much fun. So we get that, and then we're getting into the bye week, and then, okay, it's November, December, and we're starting to think about, all right, are we putting something together here? And you just kind of felt it bubbling and building and getting better and better. Then we draw the Patriots for the first round of the playoffs. And everybody remembers what happens when we played the Patriots in the playoffs before. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, really? This is what we have to do? But then we win. And it's awesome. Because all of the sudden we're America's team because everybody hates the Patriots.
Absolutely.
And we are the giant killers. And it's great. And then you still have all of the people who say, well, that was funny. They'll never do it again.
Guess what?
And then we do. In Baltimore, which I told you how I feel about Baltimore when we play them. So to get that win was even better. And so it just felt like by the time we walked into Kansas City, this team had accomplished so much. I was so proud to be part of this team. I'm always proud to be part of this team.
Mm-hmm.
But just the way that things were unfolding and the momentum and the stories and the way that I got to see this team behind the scenes just keep grinding and not pay attention to anything. It was so cool. It was such a neat thing. And by the time we got to Kansas City, if we won, magnificent. If we don't, look at what we've done.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was kind of and I don't really believe in like moral victories, because you win or you lose, and losing sucks.
Yeah.
But it felt so fulfilling just to even be in that spot.
Yeah,
And it was so fun.
I agree. It's just, especially for like coming from a Titans fan, like it was so nice to put on ESPN and see the Titans and seeing us getting recognized. It was really nice. We don't get that a lot. And even though like most of the times, even when we beat the Patriots, it was, hey, what did the Patriots do to lose? Not, hey, the Titans just played a hell of a game. It was more, oh, what did the Patriots? Did Tom Brady lose it for the the Patriots? This and that. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, Titan fans in general already know that usually they never give us credit, even when we win, especially the Baltimore game. They're like, oh, did Baltimore lay a goose egg? No. Dean Pease just played. He just did an excellent job at, picking up Lamar Jackson. Like, he played that defense perfectly. The players played. And, again, it was, they weren't ready for them. Maybe it was a bye week. I was like, oh, my Lord, whatever. You had 2 extra weeks to prepare for, the Titans. It's not that hard, okay? Regardless if you didn't know if we were going to play them. Maybe they were set up to play the Patriots. I don't know. But, again, it was really nice just to see everyone come together. I think they had on Titans Online as well, they had a bunch of country stars. Like they had Tim McGraw. And they had a bunch of people just saying like, oh, we support you guys, we'll tighten up. That was really cool. Luke Bryant. So it's cool when it was just, again, that buzz. You felt that energy just start surging towards the end of the season. It was fun.
Well, it's fun that the Titans are becoming kind of a trendy team. They're kind of becoming that team. And I think that things that helped that were the draft in Nashville, the off-season prior, and the success of Nashville just as a city and the excitement in this town. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening in Nashville right now, and you can go anywhere in the world and you say Nashville and they're like, oh, really? Like, oh, that seems like a cool place, or oh my gosh, I love it there. Like, there's so much of that I think the Titans kind of having the success that they have, having some of the big names that they have, having Mike Vrabel and John Robinson and Amy Adams-Strunk, it is just kind of the perfect fit right now. And so it's been so fun to watch this team grow and to watch this fan base grow. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it has been awesome. And again, hopefully we'll get into it now. Just what's happening around the world, especially with football. Do you think there's going to be football by any chance?
I think so. I think that it might look a lot different than it has in previous years. I think that there are a lot of people who are way smarter than me who are working really hard to do everything they can to make football happen. But I think that the world also looks very different than what we're used to. I mean, every single aspect of life has been impacted in some way by the state of the world right now. I mean, and there's not a lot that people can do about it. It's just something that you have to embrace. So do I think there will be football? Yes. Do I think it's going to be different? Yes. Do I think that everybody's going to have to adjust to that? Yes. But we're adjusting in everything else. Like nothing is immune from this virus, which is kind of a weird pun. But I mean, it is what it is. It's one of those things that is having far-reaching consequences. And I think that one of those things that's being impacted, obviously, is sports. I mean, whether that's, the way that things are timed out, whether that's, we've already seen it impact the preseason a little bit. I don't know what stadiums are going to look like. The Titans have put out already that it's going to be a limited capacity. Yeah, but I mean, things change every day. Could that look different? I don't know. Like, the world is just a little kooky right now. And I think that I'm so appreciative of the grace and the patience that Titans fans have had with us, because we're trying to figure it out and we want to know just as badly as everybody else does. I mean, there's no big secret that people are keeping. We just don't know. And I mean, there's a lot of different factors that play into every facet of a football game, whether it's the players and the coaches and keeping them safe, it's keeping the fans safe, it's making sure that we actually have the infrastructure to support everything that needs to happen for a football game. There's just a lot of
that goes in. Yeah, it's a lot.
And it's the silly things that you wouldn't even think about, but down to the smallest minutia of concessions and who's going to take
water
the
boys, towel boys.
I mean,
there's a bunch of stuff.
There's so many little things that you have to think about. And so I think that I trust that everybody who has the ability to make decisions that really matter, because I surely don't, but I trust that people are working so hard. And I've seen people in the Titans organization just working tirelessly to try and get some answers. But the world is weird. And I say it a lot, and it feels like a very juvenile way to describe everything that is going on right now. But the world is just weird right now. And I think if we can all just lean into the weird a little bit, it'll be okay.
Yeah, a lot of people, some people just are stubborn and they just can't accept change. I mean, that's what anything. I mean, people that, in my job, for instance, that, a new policy comes in and they just can't accept it. They're still stuck in their old ways and they're stubborn and stuff. They don't like change. So unfortunately, I mean, we'll see what happens with the fans in the stands. If not, I know I asked Lance Smith this, and Lance was telling me, I'm like, well, he's like, my job is the audience. If the audience is not there, I don't know what I'm going to do. So he was like, would you rather have no football or no, fans in the stands? And I agree. I mean, no fan in the stands, as long as I can watch football. And I mean, I can't go to the game, I'm okay with it as long as there's football. But again, I understand it has, everyone has to take precautions and stuff. And it's not, always about the fans. It's about the players and the coaches and stuff like that. But
yeah, you want to keep everybody safe. And I think that's the biggest thing, is the last thing that anyone wants to happen is that you come to a Titans game and you get sick. Like, that is the number one worst case scenario, is that person walks into Nissan Stadium and leaves ill. That's not what you want.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that in mind, everyone is doing everything that they can to keep fans safe, to keep people who are working at the game safe, and to keep the players and coaches safe. I mean, that's the number one priority. And as long as you keep that in the forefront of your mind, that these are actually things that we're doing to try to enhance people's lives and keep them safe, then it's a little bit easier to adjust. But everything is an adjustment right now. There's not a single thing that's normal. I walk out of my house and the world is different. So it's just going to be weird. It just is. And the more that people can accept that and just help us wade through to get to the football, that's what matters.
Definitely. And talking about this upcoming season, is there any game that you kind of have marked down that you're really excited to watch? And I mean, obviously we play the Ravens again, so that was one of the ones that I was really excited about. But any other ones that kind of you see your eye on and you definitely get excited for?
I'm really excited for starting this season on Monday Night Football. Like, that gets me going. Yeah. I am excited about that. I think that that's such a cool stage to start your season on. I think that the last time we were in Denver, it was so bad that I want to go back for like a redemption tour. I want to do it again, and I want to win. But I just think that that is the coolest place to start your season. I think that everything about it, be it atmosphere, is going to be electric. That stadium is really cool. Like, I just like being in cool stadiums, and that one's a neat one.
Yeah, my really nice.
I'm ready. I think it's going to be so cool. So that's when I saw that was happening. I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be cool. I'm gonna get fired up for that one a little bit. But then I love the Thursday night games. Playing the Colts on Thursday night will be fun.
At least it's not Jacksonville. I
Well,
think
at least
everyone
it's
was
not
relieved.
Jacksonville. Yeah, and it's not in the middle of like the hottest day of my life.
Yeah.
Is always in Jacksonville. But yeah, I mean that I love division games. Those I always get excited for. Of course, that Ravens game is going to be really exciting. But Monday Night Football, man, to start your season there, whew, you can't get any better.
Who do you think is going to challenge us in the division? You think the Colts got stronger, or you think? I mean, again, Houston, they lost Hopkins. So do you think did they get stronger? They added a couple more wide receivers. And again, I think you can't replace Hopkins just like that. I mean, he's a stud, and he always gave us problems. But who do you think is going to give us a run for our money?
I think it's going to be the Colts, and I think that's because Phillip Rivers has always been the Tennessee Titans' nemesis.
Yep.
I mean, he's one heck of a player, and I don't really see him missing a step in the move. I think that this is going to fuel his feisty little fire, and having to face him twice is not my favorite thing. I'm very not excited about that. But I think that they're going to be the ones to give us a run because the Colts were kind of on the upswing at the end of the season, just like we were. And it was kind of a neck and neck situation to see who was going to end up getting to go to the playoffs. And frankly, I think they're angry at us. And so coming back with a vengeance, they've got an upgraded offensive line. They've got some of the pieces that they needed, like different offensive weapons. They've added to their defense. I mean, they've done a lot of things. I think that's going to be the team that's going to give the Titans the biggest headache.
Yeah, they put up some good numbers, and again, they weren't bad. They did it with a backup QB. I think, in my opinion, I believe what's his name is a backup QB. In my opinion, I forgot what his name was already, but guy that played with the Colts. But now that they have Phillip Rivers, the offensive line is excellent. I mean, you gotta give credit when credit's due. Their offensive line is legit. And now, yeah, again, like you said, they have weapons. They still got T.Y. Hilton and stuff like that. So that could be a problem. So I agree with you on that one. I think the Colts will be right neck and neck towards hopefully not, but towards the end of the season. For some reason, it feels like every year it's like the Titans when they see either they make the playoffs or they don't make it. But if they're gonna make it, it's like they're like fighting tooth and nail just to get into that last spot or something like that. So we'll see what happens.
But I think it's going. I'm just excited about the season. I'm excited about watching this team. I'm excited about watching them take the next step. I'm excited about some of the young players from last year who started to break into their own. I think it's going to be a fun year.
You're right.
Sorry. I'm not great with technology anyway. Like on a good day, I'm about 80% effective when it comes to technology. So now that everything is via computer and social media, and my flaws are becoming a little bit more exposed just because I have to interact with it more regularly, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best here.
How many Zoom calls do you have? I bet you they have you like on speed dial, huh?
Well, it depends on the week, and it kind of depends on what's going on. Leading up to the draft, I was doing about 4 Zoom interviews a day, and they were kind of in like 90-minute intervals. So a typical interview that I do is about 5 minutes. Like it's not anything, we're not really diving deep into the innermost workings of a human most of the time. It's kind of whatever's going on at the moment. So I would do this 5-minute interview. So that would leave me about 80 minutes to just kind of exist before I had the next one. So I got really good at like timing up my laundry so that I can get a full load done, or I could get to the grocery store and back. That was a pretty big deal. Like during this time of being at home so much and kind of
Time
doing
management.
these Zoom
Time
calls,
management.
oh my gosh, I am a machine during the day now. Because usually I'd be at the office. And
Mhm.
so I do my interview with someone and then kind of mosey up to my office, bother some people on my way. And then I'm like sitting eating snacks, assume for like 3.5 hours a day. Like, I don't know where my time goes, but I know I have lots of snacks in my office and they're probably all pretty bad right now. I haven't been there since March. But like, I don't know what I do in a day when I'm at the office. When I'm at my house, I'm like dusting things and changing pictures and frames and like making casseroles and like pies and things. Like, I've never had time for this before. What am I
Looking up,
doing?
looking
But
up recipes and stuff.
I'm this whole domestic woman now
There
who
we go.
does all of these things around the house in between Zoom calls because I don't really know what to do with my hands when I have just like idle time.
I think
I
you
set up
and a
a
bunch
china cabinet last night. Like, what in the world? Who do I think I am? I'm like rearranging my china to make it look nice. I
of.
don't do
I
that
mean,
stuff.
I think again, it's with everything that's going on, it just gives people extra time to do whatever they want. I mean, again, I never had those gym mats. That's a TV that I actually put like the poster on, but I had like a little mini gym here before any of this started. I mean, I painted the back wall. I mean, in my garage, it was red before, and I decided to paint it, which looks a lot better. It makes everything pop. But again, I was working out like religiously because I felt like I was in prison. I would eat and then I would work out, and that's all I did. I was just like,
Yeah.
like I had nothing else to do. Watch my son here and there and take him to the park. But other than that, it was just a lot of time on your hands, especially with stuff like this going on. And now again, like you said, everything's through the computer. I mean, everything's through the computer, and everyone couldn't leave, so it gave me opportunity. Again, that's how I started the kind of the YouTube channel. I had nothing to do. I'm like, I like talking Titans. I'm just gonna film this, and I kind of just took off like that. So,
Right.
but
Right. And it's great. I mean, I feel very fortunate to have had this time. I moved, and so I was able to get my house set up, and that was a really big deal.
okay.
Um, but I'm starting to think, like, I always felt like, man, I work really hard. We spend a lot of time prepping for these shows, and,
Mhm.
we're always at the office, and gosh, I'm so overworked. Now that, like, I really have had some time to evaluate my usage of time, I probably only work like an hour and a half every day. Like, why am I at the office for 9 or 10 hours a day? Like, what am I doing?
Show
When
face.
I'm home, I get all these things done, and I mean, I'm ready for my interviews. I got my notes right here. Like, I'm good to go.
Mhm.
But like, what am I filling the rest of my day with at work? What am I doing? Like, talking to people, socializing? Like, I could be getting things accomplished. I'm a busy bee now. I'm doing the good stuff.
Well, there you
But
go.
yeah, it's changed the way that I perceive productivity, I think, because if I haven't scrubbed something, it hasn't been a productive day.
There you
Like,
go.
it just hasn't. So I don't know how Mike Keith is going to feel about me like wanting to scrub things when we get back to the office, because my office isn't very big. His is a lot bigger than mine, and it's
Mhm.
filled with lots of like trinkets and things. I'm going to try and wash his stuff, and I don't think he's gonna like it,
Most likely.
but I'm still gonna try.
Try it. Give it a shot. Again,
Mm-hmm.
we'll start wrapping up again because I know you have to scrub something, or I know you're busy. You probably have a
I've got to go wash some things. I
day.
actually have laundry, and it just ended. I can
So
hear.
it's like probably like okay. So again, I want to thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You're super nice, super kind, and you know your stuff. You know your football stuff. It's not it's just not like hey I cover the Titans. That's it. I mean you dive deep into things, and I do appreciate everything you guys you do for the Titans, and I bet you everyone else does. I know when I put it on Twitter, again I didn't tell you, my bad. I'll tag you later, but I put video dropping soon with Amie Wells, and I mean people went crazy like oh Amie, that's also I mean you have a big fan base in Twitter. Again, I'm not too big on social media. I don't like it, but the way to promote stuff, I mean Twitter and Instagram is like the go-to thing. So been using it a little bit more than I wanted to, but again,
I get it. It's fun when you figure it out. Like, social media and I have a real love-hate relationship. Because I'm not great at it. Like anyone who follows me on Twitter, I encourage you to follow other people. I would still follow me because I like to see my little numbers go up, but like I have no usable information for you ever. And I know this about myself. Jim Wyatt,
Jim Wyatt's
great
always
resource.
on. Yes.
The Tennessee Titans, great resource. Like those are places where you will actually like follow T-Rack. T-Rack has more usable information than I do. And I know this. But I love that I have the ability to interact with people a lot more. I get to see Titans fans and kind of what they're talking about, what they get excited about. I'm real hot and cold with Instagram. I'm either doing it every minute or like not at all for 6 months.
Yeah.
But again, I love interacting with people. If you've reached out to me and I haven't responded, it's because I don't know how. It's like, I feel so bad. People will be like, well, I sent you this super secret message. And I'm like, I don't know how to find those. Like if it doesn't have a bell or like some sort of like very clear way of accessing it, I don't know how to do it. So it's not that like
you just opened up Pandora's box. People are just gonna send you some random stuff.
I won't know how to access it. Like I don't know if I just don't understand or if I have set my accounts up wrong, but a lot of times people will be like, well, I tried to reach out to you via whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't. So this is just my shout out to everybody. I love hearing from you. Please, please don't mistake my silence for being rude. I don't know what I'm doing. Like that really truly
that's this honest
is the problem. I have no clue. I've never seen what you sent to me, and I wish I could, and I wish I knew how, but I don't.
So on that fair note, how about you? It's funny, ironic. Why don't you give everyone your social media platforms that they can find you at?
Yeah, where I'll never see you again, but please follow me, reach out to me. At Titans Amie, AMIE, in case you're not finding it. It's because my name is spelled like the country music song. So Titans Amie on Twitter and Titans_Amie on Instagram. So those are the two places where you can find me, AMIE both times. Titans the regular way, like on your t-shirt.
Perfect.
Yeah, so those are the places. And again, please reach out. I don't know what I'm doing. Just remember those things.
There we go. So we'll leave it off like that. That's the lovely Amie Wells, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get mad at her. She's still trying to figure it out.
It's been like 10 years since social media has been around, and I don't know, probably like 15. No clue.
Again, thank you so much for taking some time out. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This has been an absolute blast.
There we go. And titanup.